Most men lose the battle before they ever get out of bed, before their feet ever even hit the floor. They're already convincing themselves to quit. The mind is continuously talking. The question is it telling the truth? Or is it protecting weakness? Welcome to Built, Not Wish. This is our first episode focusing on mind. Yeah, we're going to do 3 a week, one on mind, one on body, and one on spirit. This is the one on mind. First fight of the day is when the alarm goes off, right? And your brain starts making excuses as to why you should stay in bed instead of getting up early to go do your push-ups, go do your kettlebell exercises, go do your planks, go do your steps. Whatever you're doing, that's about body. We'll be into that Wednesday. Today, it's about mind. And our minds, I don't know how else to say it. Neuroscience has shown our minds can't always be trusted. So, with that in mind, we need to think, what can I do to help train my brain to be more reliable? And that's what we're going to kind of get into today. But I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm just an old, out of shape guy trying to get in shape, wanting you to help me do that. And I need to work on my mind. I mean, I really need to work on my body, but I also need to work on my mind. So I've been doing that. And I've got some studies here, and I'm going to read them for you just because, again, I don't want you to think it's just me. Our brains create reality through prediction. You know, just like a lot of this AI stuff, and I don't want to get started on AI because I could go on for a long time about that. I've heard all these theories about, in 5 years, nobody's going to be working. We're all going to just be in this utopian where computers do it all. Well, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think that's quite the timeline. I've worked on it with AI in manufacturing now for a couple of years. And hasn't come to fruition. We have a little bit longer to go to get there. But a lot of AI is simply that. It's just predicting. And that's what our minds do. Our minds are predictors. And a neuroscientist by the name of Carl Friston from, where was he from? From the University College London, did some research. And said he's one of the most influential modern neuroscience theories is that the brain is not simply observing reality, it's constantly predicting reality. So according to predictive processing theory, the brain builds internal models based on past experiences, fears, traumas, habits, and expectations. Then it compares incoming sensory information against those models. What does that really mean? I mean, and this is I think it means you don't always see what is, first of all. That's scary. And you often see what your brain expects you to see. So this is why anxious people anticipate rejection. Or fearful people see threats everywhere. Or angry people assume that disrespect is what they're getting. Or insecure people imagine failure before trying. The brain fills in the gaps automatically. Let's be clear. Your mind is not a camera. It's a prediction machine. Friston's free energy principles argues that brain minimizes uncertainty by generating predictions about the world. This means the brain often prefers familiar narratives over objective truths. A man who failed publicly once, then, may again be predicting humiliation everywhere. Meetings, relationships, social media, leadership opportunities. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. The danger becomes imagined, and then the body reacts as if it's a reality because the body doesn't know. The body's got to being manipulated by the brain. Then the amygdala can hijack your rational thinking. This was brought up by neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux, and he's from the University of New York, New York University. And he works on fear circuits showed that the emotional center of the brain can react before the rational mind fully processes information. So the amygdala, I'm probably not even saying it right, constantly is scanning for danger. Sometimes it lies to us. That's not me saying this. This is neuroscience saying this. So if I went, what does that mean? That just means I'm looking over my glasses to see you. It really doesn't mean anything. But so we interpret facial expressions. Oh man, have we ever had a miscommunication from text messages? Nah, it never happens. Or someone was silent. Oh man. Or you had a delayed response. Think of all these times that all these things have happened to all of us and what our brains started doing and how it started filtering and started saying, hey, there's a problem. They're not responding. Hey, they might be busy. We're kind of adults. Here's a scary one. What about our memory? Yeah, our memory can lie to us. Or the tone of voice. See, the brain interprets all of that. And then it gets to decide what's a threat. And then that sends our bodies into tizzies half the time for no reason. So Ledoux demonstrated that sensory information can travel through a low road. So it's the stimulus through the amygdala, and that gives you the emotional reaction. And we know about emotional reactions is normally not always good. That's why we call in managing facilities and plants and things of this nature, that's why we call it, we want leaders with emotional intelligence, right? But then you have the cortex, and that is where the brain is doing reasoning, logical interpretation, meaning you can emotionally react before you consciously even think. Sometimes your brain pulls the fire alarm when there's no fire. That's kind of what I was talking about. So assuming someone is angry or thinking failure is catastrophic, believing you're under attack, or creating worst case scenarios, or spiraling into anxiety from imagined outcomes. This explains why people overreact. I've never overreacted. Okay, I can't really lie, but have you ever noticed when we start thinking about something? Oh man, I got to get this done, and I'm hurrying, and it's going to be a mess, and it's not that good. We catastrophize things that don't need to be catastrophized. In other words, it's just really not that bad. A term I've used in counseling many times, and when I say counseling, I mean coaching people at work or raising children. That's coaching or using my psychiatry degree from, I don't have a psychiatry degree. That's sarcasm, and I got to get better at not doing that. Anyway, it's unbelievable the number of people that have the ability to what I refer to as self-sabotage. Do you know what I'm talking about self-sabotage? We create all these stories in our heads, and our body thinks it's real. So our we start getting sweaty. We start feeling sick. We're doing all that to ourselves. Emotional intelligence is pretty dang important. And those people who self-sabotage, they oftentimes stay trapped in fear loops. It just goes around and around and around. And this is the one that really got me, is that the neuroscientist Elizabeth Loftus, she is from the University of California, Irvine. The brain generates false memories. Elizabeth Loftus performed groundbreaking experiments showing how easily memories can be altered, manipulated, or entirely fabricated. People can become convinced something happened when it never actually happened. Her studies demonstrate that suggestion, emotion, repetition, and social influence can reshape memory itself. Participants were persuaded to remember being lost in a mall as a child. Events that never occurred. They were persuaded to remember altered details from accidents or videos. I read years ago, prosecutors are becoming less and less reliant on eyewitnesses. And I heard this 20 years ago. And I think this is proof why. Just remember this. Your memory is not a recording. I've always thought that. I've heard all these great things about our brains. We only use a tenth of it, or 10% of our brains, I don't know, whatever the number was. I don't remember. And then how massive our brains are as far as the ability of the brain. But keep these things in mind. So people often build identities around distorted narratives. I always fail. I'm old enough to remember the show Gulliver's Travels. Okay, it'll never work. Anyway, or nobody respects me, or just can't do it. I'm not capable. Or people always leave me. They always leave me. You see, the brain reinforces emotional stories until they feel factual. So, you want to talk to somebody about a trauma loop or a negative self talk? And that's what I want this episode to be about. I want all of us to recognize how powerful our brains truly are, but maybe they're not as reliable as we thought they were. That's all I'm saying. And that's why we need to train our brains. Because our brains will help form our identities. Our brains can limit our beliefs. Our brains can become victim mentality. And the one I said earlier, self-sabotage. So what can we do to train our brains? We can make some deals. We can make some pacts. One thing that you need to do is you need to limit the inputs. Be careful what you're putting in here. Consciously, subconsciously, be careful what's going into the brain. Limit your doom scrolling. You know, I'm trying to make this podcast successful. And to do that, I have to use social media, but I really wish I didn't. I really wish I didn't, because I would like to not be on social media at all. I've done, and I'm talking about this out of experience, not out of reading a book. All right, I have personally experienced this doom scrolling. This it's not good. It's not fun. What are you putting in there? Are you putting porn in there? The theatrics, the non-reality? I could go on and on about the negatives of porn. But I think most of you have already heard those. Stay clear. Stay clear. Are you worrying what Taylor Swift is doing? I'm sorry if you're a big Taylor Swift fan. I'm not. I wish her the best, but whatever happens to her in her life really doesn't impact me whatsoever. And I know that doesn't sound like a very nice thing to say. I'm just being honest. And I'm trying to base that in reality. I don't need to read what Taylor Swift does. I think she's a beautiful young lady, and she is very talented. And I'm just using her because I can't think of any other popular somebody, because I don't. Do you read any? Do you live and die on the what celebrities do? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Why? I'm a big NCAA sports fan. And when I say NCAA, I mean NCAA football. All right. So I have my team, that which will remain unnamed for now. I'm sure you. Anyway. But I've seen people go bonkers over their sports teams. Is that what you're feeding your brain? I got a concept. So limit your doom scrolling. Limit your scrolling altogether. Make a deal with me. I've been doing this for a month, and I'm going to tell you, it is. I don't want to be hyperbolic. All right. It's helpful. Take the first half hour of your day don't pick up your phone. And I've had this habit for years. I mean, 25 years of immediately checking emails, checking into shift reports, all this type of stuff at 4 a.m. Um, or waiting till 5:30 when the reports started coming in. Um, limit your time. Take the first half hour. I'll be honest. This has been just, I want to focus on the mind today, so we'll get into the body tomorrow, Wednesday. Take a half hour. Sit in silence. I mean, and be okay with it. Don't be fidgeting. That's not easy. I'm up to about 8 minutes and I started at like 2. Okay. So it's not easy. Sit in silence. I have my morning routine. I sit in silence for about 8 minutes. I read the Bible. All right. I read a chapter of Proverbs every day. And then I have some other readings that I like to do. But train your brain. Read books. I read books. Not to say that I'm the answer. Pick up some books and start reading. Expand. Put more knowledge in there. I want to finish with this. Your brain can predict danger that isn't there. It can trigger fear before facts, and it can even rewrite memories. Which means if you've never trained your mind, you can spend your whole life fighting enemies that only exist inside your head. But seriously, think about awareness. That's what I meant by the silence. Think about the discipline. I'm going to tell you, your mind is powerful. And we'll get into that on Wednesday about discipline. Meditation, prayer, journaling, breathing exercises. I do the box breathing. That's you breathe in for 4, 1, 2, 3, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, hold it for 4, inhale for 4. Start controlling your mind and start controlling your inputs and make those inputs quality. And your mind is your greatest weapon to help you with discipline. And we'll get into that on Wednesday.